Hello everyone, Steve and Tim here at the Phantom History House sitting in our library, and we just got back from an amazing trip to New York City.
Yeah, and one of the highlights when we were there, we saw a couple shows, of course, and actually saw three shows, which we really enjoyed. But because of Steve's love of ghost stories and paranormal and everything, we did go on a very cool ghost tour of the Broadway area right around Times Square.
Yeah, what was really interesting about it is it started right near Times Square, so people are everywhere. It's crazy. It's not creepy by any means, say like a New Orleans ghost tour. But our guide, Morgan, was fantastic, and she was an amazing storyteller. She knew her history, and she's also a Broadway actress.
Yeah, that was really exciting to me. Is this is a renowned tour called Broadway Up Close, which you can find if you're ever going to New York. They have a whole bunch of tours of theaters and stories about Broadway lore, and there's one of the tours about the Ghostlight tour, which is what we took. We were able to take a private tour. We paid a little extra, which I would encourage you to do. We had just us and our own guide, Morgan. What I was so impressed with was she was a Broadway performer. She's actually making her Broadway debut this fall in Merrily We Roll Along, of the famous Sondheim musical with Daniel Radcliffe. She's going to be on stage as a swing, which means she jumps in and does a lot of different parts, different performances, which is really impressive.
Yeah, and that comes out later this year, and she was telling us about that and also about the history of the Broadway area, which of course I love. And we also bought this book that actually recaps the tour, and it's written by Tim Dolan, who founded the company that does this tour. And she pulled directly out of this. Of course, there's some extras that aren't included in the book as well, but it was so neat to stand out some of these theaters, her telling the story of what went on there and the alleged hauntings that are still happening inside the buildings, which of course I absolutely loved.
Yeah, it was exciting. So we basically walked around down the Broadway theater district. Right, we went through Times Square at one point, but we're standing in front of these famous theaters. We're looking up at it, and then she's telling us the stories of the paranormal things that happened there. It was really, really great. So I've been on a lot of tours, and I've done a lot of Broadway things, but this was one of the highlights for me. The best tour I've probably ever been on.
And it lasted about an hour and a half. We visited a half a dozen or so different theaters. She told some stories while we were walking as well, and talked about theaters that no longer exist and that are now like office buildings and stuff. And we still got to go in and see some very cool plaques. So in a video coming up soon, I'm going to recap some of my favorite stops on this tour. Not giving away all of the secrets of the tour because I want to respect them for that. But the history of these places are so cool. I want to share with you some of those highlights.
Right, so make sure that you check out Broadway Up Close. The Ghostlight tour is the one we loved. I want to say thank you again to Morgan, who was such a great performer for us as she was a storyteller, took us around. I feel like she was a friend by the end of the evening. I would encourage you to check out this tour. I loved it.
I did too, and we took a great photo with her at the end. I told her about the B&B, so who knows, maybe she'll come down and be one of our guests before too long. But I definitely highly recommend this as a unique way to see Times Square in the Broadway district of New York City.